Now, Nicholas Soames and members of the political elite have complained about the British National Party using Churchill's image during our Battle of Britain election campaign build-up. The truth is they have no right to complain. Soames has said that Churchill wouldn't approve of the British National Party. Well, no one can be absolutely sure, of course, because the man's been dead since 1965. But when you look at what he said and what he did over the years, I believe that, in fact, he would have been full square behind the British National Party. In fact, he really wouldn't have had any choice. At a cabinet meeting in 1954, Churchill told his mainly younger, more liberal Conservative colleagues that Britain would be wrong to import what he described as a colour problem. With extraordinary lack of what would now be political correctness, Churchill went on to say that in any case, these people were only attracted to Britain by the benefit system. This is not a man who would have felt at ease in David Cameron's Conservative Party, as Nicholas Soames is, where they talk openly, they boast of Britain's multicultural diversity and how wonderful it is. Churchill had a very different position. Similarly, in today's Conservative Party, no one gets anywhere unless they are a Europhile, committed to Britain's membership of the European Union and our increasing submersion in the United States of Europe. Nicholas Soames being a classic example. Churchill, on the other hand, did support some sort of a united Europe, but for the nations of mainland Europe. And he said repeatedly that Britain had no place in that kind of united Europe. He said that if Britain ever had to make a choice between the open sea and the old Commonwealth of our blood, nations such as Canada and Australia, then Britain should always choose the open sea, because our destiny did not lie in Europe and the nations of Europe. Most of all, Winston Churchill, alive today, would not even be permitted to be in the Conservative Party. In his book The River War, written at the tail end of the 1890s, about his involvements in the campaign to avenge General Gordon at Khartoum, and the part he took in the battle against an enormous Islamic fundamentalist dervish army, Churchill wrote a number of things about Islam. He wrote, in particular, "How dreadful are the curses which Mohammedanism lays on its votaries. Besides the fanatical frenzy, which is as dangerous in a man as hydrophobia in a dog, there is this fearful, fatalistic apathy." You see, hydrophobia is rabies. Can you imagine Winston Churchill alive today saying that Islam is as dangerous in a man as hydrophobia in a dog? The headlines on the BBC, in The Guardian, in The Mirror and so on would be "Muslims like rabid dogs," says Churchill. The man would have been instantly expelled from the modern Conservative Party for that phrase alone. Far from there being any question as to whether Churchill would have belonged in the British National Party, he would have had no choice. No other political party in Britain would have had him as a member. We would have welcomed him with open arms. He went on to say that Islam's attitude to women, where every woman in the world had to belong as an absolute chattel, as the absolute property of some man or another, either as a child, a wife, or as a concubine, as a sex slave. He said that this would delay the abolition of slavery in the world until Islam was no longer a great power in the affairs of men. Again, something that could not possibly be said by any British politician other than a member of the British National Party today. Finally, he said that Islam isn't something from the past. He'd seen it up front, raw and dangerous in North Africa. And he said that no stronger retrograde force exists in the world today. He said it's sweeping across Africa, rearing up fearsome warriors as it goes. And he concluded by saying this: "And were it not that Christianity is sheltered in the strong arms of science, the civilization of modern Europe might fall to Islam." Churchill was one of the great visionaries of British politics. In his warnings about immigration, in his understanding that Britain had no place in a federal European superstate without the loss of all our freedoms and all our identity, and most of all in his very early understanding of the deadly danger of radicalised Islam to our society, our community, our very civilisation. Churchill was not only ahead of his times, but belonged with us in the British National Party.